The admission office of Zenith Prime Academy gleamed with that artificial perfection only the galaxy's wealthiest institutions could afford. Crystalline walls refracted light from 3 different suns, casting rainbow patterns across floors so polished they resembled liquid mercury. Administrative drones hummed through the air, processing applications from hundreds of civilizations, their mechanical voices announcing acceptance or rejection with cold efficiency. Mira Chen stood in the center of it all, wearing a simple blue dress that screamed ordinary. Her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail. Her face held that innocent curiosity that prey species found reassuring. She clutched a data pad to her chest, like a nervous child, brown eyes wide as she took in the magnificent architecture surrounding her. Nobody noticed the predator beneath the smile. The Velcoran registrar, the insectoid creature with 6 spindly arms and compound eyes that processed information faster than most species could think, barely glanced at her credentials. His mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement or contempt. Hard to tell with his kind. Human, he stated, not asked. From Earth, Category 7, Deathworld. You understand that your admission here is provisional? Yes, the board granted your scholarship as part of the Primitive Species Outreach Program. Mira's smile never faltered. I understand completely. Thank you so much for this incredible opportunity. The registrar's antennae twitched. Your combat assessments were unusually high for a species classified as intellectually developing. The scores seemed almost impossible. I studied really hard, Mira said, adding just the right amount of shy pride to her voice. Back on Earth, I had to work 3 jobs just to afford the practice simulations. This means everything to me. Of course, the Velcoran dismissed her with a wave of his primary manipulator. Dormitory assignments are in your welcome packet. Classes begin at dawn cycle. Do try to keep up. The academy does not slow down for remedial students. She bowed politely, the perfect picture of grateful humility, and walked toward the exit. Behind her, she heard the registrar muttering to his colleague, a gelatinous Corian whose translucent body rippled with each word. Another charity case. Mark my prediction. She will wash out within a lunar cycle. If she survives that long, the Corian burbled. Humans are so fragile. Remember the last one broke down crying during basic physical conditioning. Their laughter followed her into the corridor. Mira's smile grew wider, but there was something sharp in it now. Something with teeth. The dormitory complex rose like a spiral of glass and steel, each level designated for different species based on atmosphere requirements and gravitational preferences. Humans, being adaptable to an almost disturbing degree, got assigned to the general population floors. No special accommodations, no environmental controls, just standard galactic norm, which meant slightly lower oxygen than Earth, slightly higher gravity than most civilized worlds could tolerate, and temperature fluctuations that ranged from freezing to sweltering. Perfect. Mira's roommate was already unpacked when she arrived. A Thrinian named Lyssa, all elegant crystalline features and luminescent skin that shifted between violet and azure. She glanced up from her meditation pose, floating 3 inches above her sleeping platform. Oh, they told me I would be getting a roommate. I requested someone from a compatible species. I suppose humans qualify. Barely. Her voice had that musical quality Thrinians were famous for. Each word a carefully crafted note. I am Lyssa of the 7th house. My family has attended Zenith Prime for 12 generations. Mira Chen, 1st generation. Everything. She set her single bag on the unclaimed bed. I promise not to get in your way. Lyssa's expression suggested she doubted that promise. The orientation assembly begins in 1 standard hour. I suggest you review the academy protocols. They are quite strict about proper behavior. Thanks for the tip. The assembly hall could hold 10,000 students comfortably. It held 12,000 uncomfortably, with late arrivals crammed into standing sections along the walls. Mira found a spot near the back, positioning herself where she could observe everything while remaining mostly unnoticed. Her student body represented 247 different species, from the massive Crontians who resembled mobile mountains to the microscopic pixelites who attended via holographic projection. Everyone clustered with their own kind, forming distinct groups based on homeworld classification. The Tier 1 species, those from paradise planets with stable climates and abundant resources, occupied the premium seating. They radiated confidence and entitlement, their postures announcing they belonged here. Tier 2 through 5 spread out in descending order of privilege. The further down the classification system, the cheaper the seats, the less respect from faculty, the fewer opportunities for advancement. Then there were the Tier 6 and 7 students, the Deathworlders, the charity cases, the primitives who got admitted because some bureaucrat decided diversity looked good on promotional materials. There were maybe 30 of them in total, scattered, isolated, trying desperately not to draw attention. A massive holographic projection materialized above the central stage. Headmaster Vexren appeared, his Cortanian features as severe as carved stone. 3 eyes, arranged in a triangle pattern, swept across the assembled students, and his voice resonated through every atom in the hall. Welcome to Zenith Prime Academy. You have been selected from billions of applicants across the civilized galaxy. Here, you will be transformed from students into leaders, warriors, diplomats, and innovators. But understand this, we do not coddle. We do not compromise. Excellence is not requested. It is demanded. Those who cannot meet our standards will be removed, without exception, without mercy. The speech continued for 20 minutes, outlining rules, expectations, consequences. Mira absorbed every detail while maintaining her expression of awed attention. Around her, other students whispered among themselves, already forming alliances and rivalries. A group of Velikorans near the front kept glancing back at her, their mandibles clicked in what she now recognized as mockery. One of them, larger than the others, with ceremonial markings that denoted high caste, caught her eye and made a gesture with his manipulators. In their culture, it was the equivalent of spitting. She smiled and waved, all friendly innocence. His compound eyes narrowed. Confusion rippled through his antennae. Prey species were supposed to cower or flee, or show submission. This human seemed genuinely happy, which made absolutely no sense. The next morning, combat assessment began before most students had finished their breakfast rations. The training complex sprawled across 12 square kilometers, incorporating every terrain type found across known space. Desert zones transitioned into Arctic tundra, which bordered jungle environments, which gave way to zero-gravity chambers and underwater combat arenas. Holographic opponents materialized without warning, testing reaction times and tactical thinking under pressure. Instructor Croth, the Crontian, whose species evolved on a planet where everything wanted to kill everything else, stood at the entrance with arms crossed over his chest. Each arm was thicker than Mira's entire body. "Welcome to the place where your comfortable illusions die," he announced, his voice like grinding tectonic plates. "Combat is not optional at this academy. Every student, regardless of specialization, must demonstrate basic proficiency in personal combat, tactical planning, and survival techniques. Those who fail will be reassigned to administrative roles or expelled entirely." He gestured toward the course entrance, where a shimmering energy barrier blocked the way. You will enter in groups of 20. Your objective is simple. Survive. Reach the extraction point on the far side. Your performance will determine your initial ranking in the combat hierarchy, which affects everything from course selection to career placement upon graduation. The first groups entered, carefully curated to include similar skill levels based on preliminary assessments. Tier 1 students went first. Naturally, they emerged 40 minutes later, most looking pleased with themselves. A few bore minor injuries that medical drones immediately treated. The groups progressed downward through the tiers. Each batch took longer to complete the course. More injuries, more failures. One Tier 5 student got carried out on a stretcher, sobbing about holographic razorbacks that moved too fast, hit too hard, felt too real. Finally, Instructor Krith called the last group, Tier 6 and 7 students. Step forward. 30 individuals approached from different sections of the waiting area. Mira joined them, still projecting that careful image of nervous determination. The group included 2 other humans, a pair of Caldorians whose rocky skin marked them as Deathworlders from a volcanic hell planet, and a scattered collection of other species whose homeworlds featured hostile environments that bred tough survivors. One of the humans, tall guy with military bearing named Derek, caught her eye and nodded. Acknowledgement, maybe solidarity, hard to say. Crest's expression suggested he expected this group to provide entertainment value at best. Your performance expectations are adjusted for your circumstances. Simply completing the course will be considered adequate. Anything beyond survival will be viewed as exceptional. Translation: they expected nothing and would be shocked by anything. Enter. The energy barrier dissolved. The group moved forward into simulated wilderness that looked disturbingly real. Maja felt her pulse quicken, felt her senses sharpen, felt that old familiar sensation of a hunt beginning. But she kept her breathing steady, her posture uncertain, her movements hesitant. Not yet. Not yet. The terrain shifted every 100 meters. They started in a rocky canyon where ambush predators lurked in crevices. Holographic creatures that resembled 6-legged panthers with crystalline teeth materialized from shadows, testing reaction speeds. Most of the group panicked immediately. The Caldorians formed a defensive circle, their combat instincts kicking in. One of the other humans, a woman with scars that spoke of hard living, pulled a practice blade from her equipment harness and faced the threats head-on. Derek moved with efficient precision, taking down targets with minimal wasted motion. Military trained. Definitely. Probably special forces back on Earth. Mira stumbled backward, wide-eyed, letting a holographic predator get within striking distance before she accidentally triggered a rock slide that buried it. Pure luck, her body language suggested. Just a terrified girl who got fortunate. The group pressed forward, casualties mounted, holographic deaths registering on their biomonitors and eliminating them from the assessment. Within 15 minutes, only half the original group remained active. They hit the jungle section. Next, dense vegetation, limited visibility, threats from above and below. Something serpentine dropped from the canopy toward one of the Caldorians. Mira happened to be nearby. She happened to have a fallen branch in her hands. She happened to swing it at exactly the right moment to intercept the strike, sending the holographic creature tumbling away. Nice reflexes, the Caldorian grunted, surprised. Lucky timing, Mira replied, breathing hard, playing scared. Derek appeared at her elbow. Stay close. Watch the overhead angles. These simulations are designed to exploit common tactical errors. She nodded gratefully. The image of a rookie learning from experience. They navigated through Arctic zones where cold tested endurance, underwater sections where breath control meant survival, zero-gravity chambers where orientation became meaningless. The group shrank to 8, then 5, then 3. Just Mira, Derek, and one of the Kaldorians remained when they reached the final challenge. A massive arena opened before them, and Instructor Kraft's voice echoed through unseen speakers. Congratulations on progressing this far. Your final test awaits. Defeat the Guardian, and you pass. The Guardian materialized. 3 meters of armored nightmares, combining features from apex predators across a dozen worlds. It moved with liquid grace, despite its bulk, optical sensors tracking all 3 remaining students with cold precision. The Kaldorian charged immediately, roaring a battle challenge. Brave, stupid. The Guardian's tail caught him mid-leap and sent him crashing into a wall, hard enough to trigger his elimination sensor. 2 left. Derek moved laterally, trying to flank. Professional, smart, also pointless. The Guardian was programmed to counter exactly that tactic. An appendage shot out, faster than should be possible for something so large, and tagged him across the chest. His biomonitor flashed red. 1 left. Mira stood alone, facing the Guardian. Her breathing came in rapid gasps. Her eyes were wide. Her hands trembled. The Guardian advanced sensors focused entirely on her. Easy prey. Frightened. Weak. It would end this quickly. 3 meters became 2. 2 became 1. Its attack protocols engaged, multiple appendages striking simultaneously from different angles, and Mira moved. Not like a scared student, not like prey, like a predator who had been pretending to be prey since the moment she walked through those academy doors. She flowed between the strikes with economy of motion that spoke of thousands of hours training. Her hands found pressure points in the Guardian's armor that should not have existed, exploiting weaknesses in its programming that should not have been detectable. She climbed its back, using its own momentum against it, and delivered a precise strike to its primary sensor cluster. The Guardian collapsed, deactivated, defeated. In 17 seconds, Mira stood atop its inert form, breathing steady now, posture relaxed. Then she looked up and saw them. Dozens of monitoring drones had recorded everything, every movement, every technique, every second of the fight, that revealed exactly what she was. Her smile returned, sharp, dangerous, satisfied. "Oops," she said softly. Instructor Kraft's voice came through the speakers, tone completely different now. "Mira Chen, remain in position. Do not move. Do not attempt to leave the arena. Security personnel are being dispatched to your location immediately." Around the academy, on screens broadcasting the assessment to faculty and senior students, her performance replayed, again and again. That impossible speed, that predator's grace, that casual efficiency with which she dismantled a combat simulation designed to challenge experienced warriors. The human who walked into Zenith Prime Academy as a humble scholarship student, grateful and overwhelmed, had just revealed something terrifying. She had been hunting them from the moment she arrived, and nobody realized until it was far, far too late. The detention chamber was designed for dangerous species, reinforced walls that could withstand plasma charges, energy barriers, calibrated to contain beings with enhanced strength, monitoring systems that tracked every biological function, every micro-expression, every subtle movement that might indicate threat levels. Mira sat cross-legged on the single bench, still wearing her training gear, looking utterly relaxed. She had been here for 6 hours. No food, no water, no explanations, just silence and observation. She knew they were watching, analyzing, trying to figure out what she was, what she wanted, what threat she posed. Let them wonder. The door finally opened. Headmaster Vexeron entered, flanked by 2 security officers whose species specialized in containment and suppression. Behind them came Instructor Krath, and surprisingly, a human wearing the uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. Ambassador Marcus Hayes looked tired. Deep lines creased his face, and his gray hair suggested decades of navigating the complexities of galactic politics. He studied Mira with an expression that mixed disappointment with something that might have been understanding. "Miss Chen," Vexeron began, his 3 eyes fixed on her with unsettling intensity. "Your performance today raises significant concerns. Our preliminary assessments indicated you possessed above-average capabilities for a human, which we attributed to exceptional preparation. What you demonstrated in that arena suggests something far different. That level of skill requires years of advanced military training, combat experience, and tactical education that should be impossible for someone of your stated background."
Mira met his gaze without flinching. "I've watched a lot of training videos."
"Do not insult my intelligence," Vexeron snapped. "Ambassador Hayes has provided your actual records. They make for fascinating reading." The ambassador activated a holographic display. Images materialized, showing a younger Mara, maybe 14 years old, wearing combat gear, and standing among a squad of hardened soldiers. More images followed: training facilities, combat zones, mission debriefings. "Captain Mira Chen," Hayes said quietly, "Earth Special Operations Division, youngest person ever admitted to the program, decorated veteran of the frontier conflicts, specialist in infiltration, assassination, and psychological warfare. 17 confirmed operations across hostile territories, success rate of 100%. The security officers shifted nervously. Krath's expression changed from confusion to something approaching respect. "So the question becomes," Vexeron continued, "why is a decorated special operations officer pretending to be a naive scholarship student at our academy?" Mira stood slowly, hands visible, movements non-threatening. "Because 2 years ago, my younger brother applied here. His name was Tommy Chen. He had scores that should have guaranteed admission. Your academy rejected him. The official reason was insufficient qualifications. The real reason, according to the rejection committee's sealed minutes, was that humans are primitive, barely civilized, and fundamentally inferior to proper galactic species." Silence filled the chamber. Tommy took that rejection hard, really hard. He had dreamed of attending Zenith Prime since he was 8 years old. He wanted to prove that humans belonged among the stars, that we had something to contribute beyond manual labor and military service. When your academy told him he was not good enough, that his entire species was not good enough, it broke something inside him. Her voice remained steady, but something dangerous flickered in her eyes. He killed himself 3 months after receiving that rejection, left a note saying he couldn't bear being a disappointment, being less than the galactic standard, being human. Ambassador Hayes closed his eyes. "Mira, what you are doing here won't bring him back." "No," she agreed, "but it will make a point." Vexeron's posture stiffened. "If you believe you can threaten this institution into changing admission policies through intimidation or violence, you are severely mistaken. Security forces across this entire sector would mobilize to protect Zenith Prime." Mira laughed, genuinely amused. "Threaten, Headmaster? I am not here to threaten anyone. I am here to embarrass you. Specifically, I am here to graduate with honors from your prestigious academy. After being admitted through your primitive species outreach program, which everyone knows is just a public relations stunt, I am here to prove that a charity case human can outperform your elite students in every metric that matters, and when I do, when I stand on that graduation stage as valedictorian, the entire galaxy will know that your institution rejected a brilliant kid because of species prejudice, then accidentally admitted his sister who proceeded to humiliate your educational standards. Understanding dawned across Vexron's features. This is revenge. This is justice, Mira corrected. Tommy deserved better. Every human who got rejected because of institutionalized bigotry deserved better. I am going to be your most successful student, your shining example of the outreach program working exactly as advertised. And you cannot stop me without proving that the whole system is rigged against Deathworld species, which would destroy the Academy's reputation across the civilized galaxy. Krath made a sound that might have been approval. She has you cornered. Headmaster, expelling her now would validate every accusation of bias. Keeping her allows her to prove her point. Either way, the Academy loses face, unless, Mira added, you change the system. Make admission truly merit-based. Remove the species classification from the evaluation process. Give kids like Tommy a real chance. Vexron was silent for a long moment. His 3 eyes cycled through different spectrums, processing implications and outcomes. You have created an elegant trap. Well played, Captain Chen. However, you have made many critical error in your calculations, which is...
You assume I disagree with your assessment of our admission policies. He turned to the security officers. Leave us. Ambassador Hayes, you as well. I wish to speak with Miss Chen privately.
Once they were alone, Vexron's demeanor shifted. The stern administrator facade fell away, revealing something more complex underneath. I have been headmaster for 43 standard years. In that time, I have watched this academy become progressively more exclusive, more elitist, more focused on maintaining social hierarchies than pursuing genuine excellence. The board of directors cares about prestige and profit. They admit students whose families donate generously, whose political connections prove valuable, whose species sit at the top of the galactic power structure. He moved to the window, gazing out at the academy grounds. Your brother's application crossed my desk. I read it personally. His qualifications were exceptional. His essays demonstrated intelligence, creativity, and passion. I recommended admission. The board overruled me. They said accepting too many Deathworlders would dilute the academy's image. Mira felt something shift in her chest. You tried to help him. I failed him, Vexron said simply. Just as I have failed hundreds of qualified students over the years because I lacked the courage to fight the system directly. You, however, have chosen a different approach. You are forcing change through demonstration rather than debate. I find that admirable. So what happens now? Now I allow you to proceed with your plan. You will attend classes, complete assignments, take examinations. I will not provide special treatment or make accommodations. You will succeed or fail, based entirely on your own abilities. But I will ensure that your success, and I do believe you will succeed, receives maximum visibility. Every achievement will be publicized, every milestone celebrated. By the time you graduate, the entire galaxy will know that a human from Earth not only attended Zenith Prime, but excelled beyond measure. Mira studied him carefully. Why would you help me? Because change requires catalysts. Because the current system is morally bankrupt. And because, quite frankly, I am curious to see how far you can go when you stop pretending to be something less than you are. He extended a manipulator in the gesture humans recognized as a handshake. Do we have an understanding, Captain Chen? She clasped his hand firmly. We do. Headmaster Vexron.
The next morning, Mira returned to regular classes. Rumors had spread through the student population like wildfire. the human charity case who destroyed the combat assessment guardian in 17 seconds, the primitive who fought like a trained assassin, the deathworlder who is definitely not what she appeared to be.
Students parted as she walked through corridors, some with fear, some with curiosity, a few with open hostility. Lyssa was waiting in their shared quarters, her crystalline features unreadable. So, apparently my roommate is some kind of legendary warrior. Did you plan to mention that during our introductions? It did not come up naturally in conversation. You made me think you were some scared rookie. I am a rookie, Mira pointed out. At being a student, the warrior part, I have covered. Lyssa laughed, genuine and surprised. I suppose that is technically accurate, for what it is worth. I think what you are doing is either brilliantly brave or catastrophically stupid, possibly both, simultaneously. That describes most of my career choices. Classes began with advanced tactical theory, taught by Professor Carthax, a veteran strategist whose species thought in multi-dimensional patterns. He had clearly been briefed on Mira's background because he called on her immediately. Miss Chen, given your unique experience, perhaps you can explain the fundamental flaw in the Corvan defense formation when facing numerically superior forces. Every eye in the lecture hall turned toward her. The Valkyrian students from the admission office sat in the front row, mandibles clicking with anticipation. They expected her to fail, to prove that combat skills did not translate to academic intelligence. Mira stood. The Corvan defense prioritizes holding ground through concentrated firepower and overlapping fields of coverage against numerically superior forces. This creates a static position that can be surrounded and overwhelmed through attrition. The fundamental flaw is assuming the enemy will engage directly rather than bypass the position entirely, cutting supply lines and rendering the defensive formation irrelevant through strategic isolation. Professor Carthax's expression suggested approval. Textbook answer, but in practical application, I would never use the Corvan defense against superior numbers. I would use mobile tactics, hit and run engagements, and force multiplication through terrain advantages, make them chase ghosts, while bleeding them from angles they cannot reinforce. Deathworld strategy, sir. When you are always outnumbered, you learn to make numbers irrelevant. Silence, then scattered applause from some of the Tier 6 and 7 students who recognized their own experiences in her answer. The Valkyrians looked less pleased. Over the following weeks, a pattern emerged. Mira dominated combat assessments, which surprised nobody after her initial performance, but she also excelled in theoretical coursework, practical engineering, xenobiology, diplomatic protocols, and advanced mathematics. Every class became an opportunity to demonstrate that humans were not primitive charity cases, but competitors worth respecting. Other Deathworld students began gravitating toward her. Derek, a military veteran, became a regular study partner. The Caldorians invited her to their combat training sessions, which turned into brutal competitions that left everyone bruised and grinning. Even students from higher tier worlds started approaching her with questions, grudging respect, replacing earlier contempt. Not everyone appreciated the shift. The Valkyrian from the admission office, whose name was Zekthar, made his displeasure obvious. He arranged for academic sabotage, stealing research materials and blaming it on Mira. He spread rumors about humans cheating through illegal neural enhancements. He challenged her to formal combat duels designed to humiliate rather than educate. Mira handled each attack with calculated precision. She rebuilt her research from memory, proving the theft changed nothing. She submitted to full medical scans that confirmed zero enhancements, just natural human capability refined through training. She accepted every duel challenge and won decisively without causing permanent injury, demonstrating both skill and restraint. Deathworld's frustration grew with each failure. Eventually, he made a critical mistake. He targeted Derek, attempting to frame him for academic violations that would result in expulsion. The evidence was planted clumsily, desperation making him sloppy. Mira uncovered the scheme within hours. She brought the proof to Headmaster Vexron, who convened a disciplinary hearing. Zenith and 3 of his collaborators faced expulsion for violations of academic integrity. Before Vexron issued his ruling, Mira stood, "Headmaster, I request leniency for Zenith and his associates." The room erupted in shock. Vexron's 3 eyes focused on her with laser intensity. "Explain." They acted from fear and prejudice, qualities that education is supposed to address. Expelling them teaches nothing except that they were right to fear competition from Deathworlders. Instead, I propose academic probation, mandatory ethics coursework, and assignment to collaborative projects that force them to work alongside the students they tried to sabotage. Zenith's mandibles trembled. "Why would you show mercy? I tried to destroy you because revenge is not the same as justice," Mira replied, thinking of Tommy. "I came here to prove a point, not to create more victims. You can either learn from this experience or let it consume you. Your choice." Vexron implemented her suggestion. Zenith and his collaborators were assigned to probation and partnered with Deathworld students for semester-long research projects. The results were initially uncomfortable, then gradually productive, and eventually transformative. Months passed. Academic cycles progressed. Mira's rankings climbed steadily upward until she sat firmly in the top percentile across all metrics. The primitive species outreach program, once a token gesture, became genuinely competitive as qualified students from Deathworlds applied in increasing numbers. The academy changed. Not overnight, not completely, but the trajectory shifted. Graduation approached under 3 suns, setting in synchronized beauty. Mira stood backstage in formal ceremonial robes, waiting for her name to be called. Ambassador Hayes appeared beside her, looking proud. "Your brother would be incredibly proud of what you have accomplished here." "I hope so." She adjusted her valedictorian medal, the highest academic honor Zenith Prime could bestow. "I just wish he could have been here to do this himself." "He was always here," Hayes said gently. "Every time you challenged an unfair system, every time you proved humans belong among the stars, every time you chose justice over revenge." Her name echoed across the graduation arena. 20,000 beings from hundreds of worlds applauded as she walked toward the stage. Headmaster Vexron waited with the formal graduation crystal, a symbol of completed education that would open doors across the civilized galaxy. As he placed it in her hands, he leaned close and whispered, "The board has voted to implement comprehensive admission reforms, merit-based evaluation, blind species review, expanded outreach to all worlds regardless of classification. Your brother's legacy." Captain Chen, tears threatened, but she blinked them back. "Professional to the end. Thank you, Headmaster." She turned to face the assembled graduates and guests. Somewhere in that massive crowd, Lyssa was cheering. Derek was grinning. The Caldorians were roaring approval in their native tongue. Even Zenith was there, his mandibles arranged in what his species used for genuine smiles. Mira Chen, the scared scholarship student who walked into Zenith Prime Academy looking overwhelmed and grateful, was gone. In her place stood a warrior, a scholar, a leader who had proven that Deathworld predators could excel anywhere when given a fair chance. She raised her graduation crystal high, and the applause became thunderous. That night, alone in her quarters, one final time before departing for new assignments, Mira pulled out a worn photograph. Tommy at age 10, holding a model spacecraft, eyes bright with dreams of the stars. "I did it," she whispered, "and now other kids like you will get their chance too. No more rejections based on fear. No more prejudice masquerading as standards. The galaxy is going to learn what Earth already knows. Humans do not quit. We do not back down, and we definitely do not let our family be forgotten." She placed the photograph carefully in her bag alongside the graduation crystal. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles, new opportunities to demonstrate that humanity deserved its place among the stars. But tonight she allowed herself to rest, to remember, to honor the brother whose death sparked a revolution in galactic education. The predator who hid behind a schoolgirl's smile had accomplished her mission, and the galaxy would never underestimate humans again.